If you've typed making tax digital into YouTube recently, you'll have seen the same thing as me over and over. Penalties, nightmare, HMRC crackdowns, thumbnails of people with their heads in their hands. Almost all of it is missing the point. I've spent the last 3 months writing a book about making tax digital, and here it is, Making Tax Digital Without the Panic. It hit on Amazon the top 100 Kindle finance books in the UK. And that tells me something really important. It tells me that people aren't actually looking for more panic. They're looking for clarity. So in this video, I'm going to give you just that. What everyone else I think is getting wrong, what I actually think matters, and what you should be doing right now. You might have noticed I've been a bit quiet on my YouTube channel and podcast since December. I've been working on this big project to do with making tax digital. It's probably one of the biggest tax changes that's coming to our tax system in the last decade, really. And we've got millions of landlords and sole traders who are going to be affected by it. I think in the start of the book, I've got those statistics in there about something like it's 7.6 million people are going to be affected over the next 3 years. So I've been doing a soft launch for the book while I build up the digital side of things. So when you actually buy the book, you don't just read it. There's QR codes to scan inside. So it'll take you to a setup guide video that I've got for getting onto software. If you're a landlord, you'd find an incorporation fact sheet about whether it's worth incorporating your business. And you've got live updates as HMRC clarifies them. I think that's the wonderful thing about modern day publishing is I don't have to just publish a static book. I can put links to digital content and then I can update those in the future. So actually the book evolves. That's what AskJT has always been about for me. It's about clarity. Writing the book made me realize something, that the conversation around making tax digital is actually broken, and I want to start fixing that today. So here's what everyone I think is getting wrong. It's when people cover making tax digital, they're focusing on 3 things: fear of penalties, software comparisons, and political commentary, whether that's about HMRC not being able to cope or something else. But none of those are going to help you run a business any better. And here's how I want you to reframe the changes of making tax digital. Making tax digital is not primarily a tax problem. It's a behaviour problem. If your records are 6 months behind right now, then making tax digital is going to feel absolutely terrifying. And that's because it's quarterly reporting plus an annual submission as well. So it's going to expose straight away how far you are behind. And that 4 times a year thing, if you're 6 months behind all of the time, or maybe you're a year behind, then making tax digital and putting quarterly reports in is going to almost feel insurmountable. But if your records are live and up to date, then making tax digital is just another admin task that you're going to absorb into your business. This gap isn't about the rules. It's about the system that's underneath it. And when I talk about system, I'm talking about your business, not HMRC's making tax digital system. If you build a better business system, then it's not about MTD compliance. You're going to start running a better business. I promise you that you will end up with a better business. And let me show you what I mean by that. And here's the business case study that no one's really talking about. Is I work with a lot of tradespeople, and one of the most powerful things proper bookkeeping unlocks is a clear view of turnover against cost of sale by job type, by customer, by time of year. We know about seasonality. We know about all sorts of stuff. And that's the great thing of moving on to software and building that system beneath it, is you're going to end up with live information. Most small business owners might know their overall profit figure, but that's only once a year when they're doing their tax return. And making tax digital is going to give you that every single quarter. They might not know which parts of the business are making them money, which ones are losing their money. Are your material costs creeping up on certain jobs? Is there one type of work where it's consistently more profitable than another, where you could focus your time a bit better? Are you pricing a particular service too low because you've never actually measured the margin? You see, when our records are up to date and live, then those categories become just exposed. We can click a button. It's really easy to actually do it, and you can get the answer to those questions. So, and this isn't about year end. That's at year end, it's too late. There's nothing you can do about it. The conversations that I'm having with my clients now are about pension contributions. We're a month away from the year end and we're already thinking about how we're going to save tax. By the time it gets to, May time, the tax year has ended. There's no ability for you to put anything more into the pension. There's no ability for you to save tax in that year. You need to know where you stand before you get to the end of the year. So many accountants are archaeologists. They're just digging through the past ultimately. It's now that you can make decisions. It's what happened, a couple of weeks ago that we can look at it and go, actually, I think I can change something for the month coming because of that information. If we're looking at it 9 months later, what's the point? And that can give you a competitive advantage. And it's sitting behind all systems to do with MTD. It's just MTD is one of the things that you're going to have to do. But I'm excited for a lot of small business owners because they're going to get access to this type of reporting information that they've never had before. Let me tell you a story about a landlord that I've been working with. And this could be a sole trader. The principles are fundamentally the same. This particular landlord had approached me, had a portfolio of properties, maybe half a dozen properties in the portfolio. And they'd been at it for years. And when they first sat down with me, they had separate bank accounts for each of the properties. And the landlord, what we was trying to do was trying to sense whether he was making money or losing money based on the balance in the bank account. Absolute madness. So actually, I helped him move on to Xero, XERO, the accounting software. And I helped him basically bring it all in. So we had multiple bank feeds feeding in, lots of different things to reconcile. We set up something called tracking categories. But I put him in a position where he could literally, at the click of a button, run a profit and loss report on each property to see how it was yielding. And that's the same. It doesn't matter whether you're a sole trader or a landlord. You can start taking advantage of these kind of key things, is that we can start having a look about what turnover we made on a particular product. Imagine if you're running a cafe, you could see the immediate split down on food versus drink sales, what it costs you to buy that food versus drink into the business in the first place. Also, for that landlord client, we've got rid of all of those bank accounts. He's now operating on one bank account. So it's really, really important to think about how you're setting things up. And quite often when I talk about systems, everyone immediately thinks about software. And it's not about software. Sometimes it's about standing back and going, hang on a minute, we've got 6 bank accounts that the landlord's using to try and track profit. How can I simplify that within the software? Now, what I'm doing is going through a stages of processes in order to get to that point. And that's about system, not necessarily about software. What I'm doing is designing the system within the software. Going back to my landlord client, they were starting to look at things like, is that property worth holding on to? Is it yielding well enough? Should they sell it? Should they hold it? How much have they spent on it historically? All of that information was all of a sudden in a piece of software that they could run reports on and have better understanding of their property business. So whether you're a trading business or a landlord, principles are the same. I want to tell you about why the panic narrative is actively harmful. And that's because panic content works for clicks. So YouTubers want you to click on their video and watch it. Fundamentally, I understand why people make it, but it's asking the wrong questions here. When you lead with fear, people immediately ask, how do I avoid HMRC? How do I delay this? Is there a loophole I should be going for? These are dead ends. I'm sorry, but they are. Every single one of them. Better question to ask that's going to move your business forward is how do you make this easier than it is today? So whatever you design should make your business better for the future. Because if you build a simple digital process now, before the deadline pressure arrives, something interesting is going to happen. Your numbers are going to become visible. Your margins are going to become measurable, and your decisions are going to get better. And I promise they will become better. Making tax digital is forcing a change that, a lot of small businesses should have probably made years ago. A lot of my clients have already been on this system because that's what our firm's all about. It's about setting up good digital infrastructure. One of my clients, Tony, said to me, what do I need to do for this Making Tax Digital? Nothing, Tony. We've already got you on the right system. A lot of people aren't in that position. So now is the time to take action. The panic merchants out on the internet out there are framing this as an attack rather than an overdue upgrade. And I think it is an overdue upgrade. So why did I write a whole book about this? Well, I could see April 2026 approaching. And it was going to go one of two ways. Is like option one is everyone's going to ignore it until the deadline and we're going to have ultimate chaos. We're going to have accountants overwhelmed. We're going to have businesses scrambling. We're going to have people potentially getting penalties. I know there's been a deferral on penalties for the next year. But for the next lot of people coming in, there's no deferral. There's no soft landing. What are we going to do? And actually, I'm really worried that other accountants in the market aren't going to be able to step up. And in some respects, my book would actually help accountants as well. The second option is that people use this as a kind of a reset moment and we get actually tidier systems. We've got simple software running in the background, clean processes, and basically a 15-minute weekly review habit that's going to replace a 3 panic days a year where there's just chaos. My book is about obviously option 2, and it's about creating that system that's removing friction. And it's written by someone who understands both systems and accountant, and I've also been a landlord as well. So I'm not just advising people live on this, I'm doing it myself. I've got to report under Making Tax Digital, so I've got to do it. I'm already running bits of software like this to do with my property business anyway. So I'm talking from a real position of experience. I think I've taken an interesting spin with my book by looking at a systems view of things. Over the next few weeks, there's going to be a lot coming on this channel to do with Making Tax Digital. There's going to be a dedicated Making Tax Digital playlist. And this is going to take you from understanding the rules to building the system up. So please subscribe now, as I don't want you to miss any of that content as it lands. I'm nearly ready to launch a zero setup guide, and I'm going to have a separate one for sole traders and another one for landlords as well, because I think the setups are slightly different, although the book perfectly covers the two in one manuscript. I've also developed a checklist PDF. It's a multiple page document, and I'm really proud of this document. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It makes sure that you've got everything you need in place right now for your business. And I'm going to put a link in the description. You can click on that and get that downloaded. So if you haven't got time to read the book, go and have a look at that checklist, because I think it's going to give you so much information that it's going to be really, really worthwhile. Making Tax Digital isn't coming to make your life harder. It's arriving to expose systems that were already fragile. And I want you to go off and fix those systems and really fix them. And I'm developing all this content to help you do that. You could end up with a business that's telling you things that it was never telling you before, how much profit you're making, what your margins are, and actually make you more in control. So go out now and start building this properly. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Right, bye.